Hey, you're watching Band Bruhz. This is the first YouTube channel that's totally dedicated to marching bands. Now, today we're going to be talking about bands. Of course, that's what the show is about.
That's what the entire show is about.
I think
But
it is.
not just specifically about bands, but band sounds, band arrangements, marching styles. Those are some of the topics that we're going to discuss. But before we get into that, we want to talk about rankings. Joe Shelton.
What's up, people? Hey, look, Band Bruhz. We have, you've heard all of our classifications from Class A to Class 4A. And then the classifications are based off of school enrollment. So what we're going to talk about now, we're going to start giving our preseason rankings to all these classifications, okay? And right now, Jerry's going to start off. We're going to start off with the 13th ranked band in Class A.
Starting at 13, Clark, Atlanta. 12, St. Augustine, Superior Sound Marching Band. 11 is Fort Valley, Blue Machine Marching Band. Coming in at number 10 is Johnson C. Smith, International Institution of Sound. Number 9, Elizabeth City, the Marching Sound of Class. Ranked at number 8, Lincoln, Marching Musical Storm. Number 7, Lane College, Marching Quiet Storm. Number 6, Virginia Union, Ambassadors of Sound Marching Band. Coming in at number 5, Kentucky State, Thoroughbred Express. Number 4, Mississippi Valley, Mean Green Marching Machine. Number 3, Talladega Marching Tornado Band. Number 2, Edwin Waters, Triple Threat Marching Band. And number 1 in Class A preseason ranking is Miles, Purple Marching Machine.
Now, what's really important is that you understand what we just did. The preseason rankings is based on where your status is as far as a band in your category. Now, we just read you the number 1 band, which is Miles. And it's not based on numbers, how many people are in your band, but it's totally based on performance. Isn't that right, Joe?
That's right. And what we did, we took videos from last season. We randomly select any video that you had from last season. We had our team of former band directors and retired band directors looked at them, and we came up with these rankings. And this is a preseason ranking, so it's up for the debate. If you feel your band should be ranked higher, or you're better than some bands that where you're listed at now, hey, make a comment right here. Let us know. Give us your opinion. All right?
Send us some footage. Send us a link to the footage. You
Yes.
think your band is not in the right rankings? Then you're wrong, because we've already got the people, the right people. But if you think so, send us the footage.
Yeah, tag
and prove your point.
Yeah, tag your link in the comments. You know, if you show us proof where you think your band is better than one of these bands and where you rank that, and it's up for debate.
And hopefully we'll come back mid-season and definitely at the end of the season, do a mid-season ranking and an end of the season ranking. So if this is wrong, then prove us wrong.
Right.
Send us some footage.
And as we get into the marching season, we're about a couple of months away from the March season band camp. And as these big classics and big band events come up in the season, we will make rankings throughout the season. So if Miles is at number 1 right now, hey, by week 2, Miles, somebody could come. Talladega may jump up and take Miles' place. So hey, it's up to these different bands and different ranks and based on their competition. So hey, it's all up for debate. That's why we got this channel going.
All right, well, you heard our rankings, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a real quick break. We're going to be back, and we'll be discussing our topic for the day. Hey, stay tuned. You're watching Band Bruhz.
Band Bruhz.
Back to Band Bruhz. This is your boy Chris Bond.
This is Jerry Davis.
Joe Shelton.
And we're going to be talking about bands, all right? I know it sounds kind of fundamental, but we really do need to discuss bands, because bands are not the bands that I remember, Jerry. It's totally different bands out there. Now, what made me fall in love with the band is when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and my dad took me to go see TSU marching band, and it was marching into the hole. And I'm talking about, it was so thunderous.
Tell them what the hole is.
Man, the hole is, of course, our stadium on the TSU campuses. And Hale Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's a tradition for the band to come straight through the parking lot and come in on top. Remember on top? This
Come
was
down
back,
the hill,
yeah.
by the barn.
And the sound of the snare drum and the bass drum and it was powerful. And that's what really changed my whole concept of, hey, I need to be in a band when I grow up.
Yeah. I could say the same thing. I think my first experience was around 10. My dad took me to a game, and I was done. TSU, that's where I wanted to go.
Right.
I wanted to play in the band. I didn't care what it took to get in the band, and just fell in love with them. So normally around 5th, 6th grade for most guys, your true love, your first love is whatever band you come in contact with first. And I'm glad it was TSU, and from there, everything else was just kind of downhill. So.
Yeah, man, it's same as everything. My dad took me to TSU homecoming game. We lived in Memphis for a minute, and we would come back to Nashville. And he would always get those seats on the 50-yard line. And if you ever been in the hole, the band sort of sits up to your left. And the whole game, my head was turned like this, trying to look and watch the band.
Right.
Because and that's I was like, man, this is we talking 5th, 6th grade that I can remember that, man. So. Ever since then, I always knew music and band was going to sort of, it sort of triggered that spark inside of me to say, hey, this is something that I want to do. I want to try to make a career out of. So that's what triggered it for us.
And one thing I want to mention, back then for me, and we're all about the same age, it was cool to be in the band, and that kind of moved along from 5th grade, 6th grade up into high school. And for me, I was a late bloomer. I didn't get into the band until almost my junior year of high school, thanks to this guy right here. And but nowadays, I see some numbers have dropped off a little bit in high school, and it seemed like it's just not cool to be a musician, but it actually is. So we're hoping that a lot of you middle school kids and elementary school kids are watching this. It's actually cool to be in the band, and we want to try to revamp and get some of that energy back. So. Take advantage.
Here's how you know you a band bruh in the making. If you go to a college football game and the football is right here, but the band is over here and you like this the whole game, you a band bruh.
Yeah.
What's another way you can tell you a band bruh, Joe?
If you constantly, at home,
and your mom was like, stop beating on everything.
Beating on the pots, on the kitchen table, you in the cafeteria, and you beating, and you always humming, and the music's in. Hey, it's
band bruh.
You a band bruh.
Yeah,
you in it. So if you are not already in a band or something with music, hey man, you need to jump on it because it's in your blood.
Yeah.
What's another reason?
Here's another one. Halftime.
Yeah.
If you stay in your seat during halftime instead of getting up and going to get something to eat. Band bruh.
You a band
bruh. If your phone is like this toward the band, the entire game, I'm sorry, you've been bitten by the band bug.
You've been bitten.
So that's what it is.
If you at a homecoming parade and you march, but you ain't in the band,
you're marching on the side.
Yeah, that's a good
you
way.
a band bruh. You ain't got a uniform on or nothing, but the band is going and you going with it. Yeah.
And here's the ultimate one. If you see your favorite band and you march with them the entire parade, but you're not in school, and you're weaving through people.
And you're marching.
Yeah.
You're step 2 drilling
over
on the
strollers.
sideline.
Band bruh, I'm sorry. So, hey, here it is.
Hey, we're going to take a small break and we'll be right back. The next topic we're going to discuss is, of course, arrangement. When you talk about sound, man, you cannot overlook arrangements. We'll be right back after this. Q&A from some of you, our audience that have written in on our Facebook or our YouTube, and we want to kind of get back to you. Jerry is going to lead us in the discussion today.
So this was a question from our, I think an Instagram or email, I can't remember how we received it through one of our social media sites. But the question was managing schoolwork and band life.
Okay.
Y'all want to jump in at any time?
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
yeah.
It basically is even from high school into college. You know, you have to be a time manager, especially on college level. That free time that you sort of sat around and played video games and spent on the phone talking, and just you're really not gonna have too much of that on the college level if you're in a Tennessee State or a Jackson State band, because every moment you have downtime, you're either practicing for the band or you're studying and getting classwork done. So it's about time management. And if you're not doing one or the other, classwork or band, if you're putting gap time for something else in there, something's gonna suffer, either the band or your classwork, if you're not managing the time wisely.
Well, I have two things, and I'll be real quick. Use your technology. Use your phones, use your iPads, use the calendar on your phone, and put everything in there that you need to do. And put time in those time slots to rest, to study. Don't think that you can just think that you can do everything off the top of your head. You cannot. Transitioning from high school to college was probably one of the hardest things for me. And there's gonna be a point where you're gonna be like, you know what, forget it, I don't wanna be in the band, I'm just gonna concentrate on schoolwork. But millions of people have done it before, and it actually makes you a better person. And I've mentioned this before, employers are looking for band students more than they're looking for regular students, because why? They've been able to manage being in the band, traveling, doing the homework, and performing. So it will be rough. Talk to an upperclassman. Talk to an upperclassman in the band and say, hey, what helped you out? What did you do differently? How was your transition when you left high school to college? Take notes, write down things. When you get finished with them, draw a line through them, scratch them out. But this is not high school anymore, so you've got to make sure that you are paying attention to everything. And third, for parents, 2 kids, no one's there waking you up. You know, you're there by yourself. You're that young adult, you're that adult that you always told your mom and your dad, I can't wait to be by myself.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you are. No one's knocking on your door. So you've got to do this by yourself. And it worked, but it's going to take some adjusting. Chris, you want to mention anything?
No, I think
The question, Michelle writes, I've been in this particular HBCU band for my second year, and what do you guys think about band and relationships? Like dating somebody in the band?
Ooh,
That's a good one.
Great question.
Ooh.
Well, it's twofold. One, normally what happens, you find someone in the band and you're around each other all the time.
Sure.
It's great, it's convenient, but your mind at 18 and 19 probably isn't quite mature enough to handle being around someone all the time. So guess what? You start getting on each other's nerves,
Absolutely.
You start arguing about little petty things, yada, yada, yada. Then the complete opposite. You've got someone that maybe still be in high school. You got one that's in college. You got one that's in college that's not in the band. And you're trying to, make sure that the other trusts you and believe that you're doing this away on trips. I don't know, that's the age-old question, it's just, it really based on your upbringing, your maturity, how you can handle things. That's all on an individual basis, That I would recommend, if you're not already in a relationship, to not get in a relationship.
That's what I was gonna say.
Right now in the band, because you've got a lot of time you're gonna be spending in the band, and that could cause some havoc with your relationship.
And just a disclaimer, if you were in TSU's band from 1989 to around 93, we do not need you to comment if you're a female.
Ever.
From 89 to 93.
Ever.
Don't comment. You have no say in this topic.
Your messages will be deleted.
Deleted. Exactly.
They will be
Automatically.
deleted.
Don't even say nothing.
We're gonna screen them, so don't even attempt.
Don't.
So
Listen, we
These
don't
are-
have any money, and we have families, okay?
These are the
we're
older,
different guys now.
we are the older guys. Those guys have died.
Right.
There were
Okay.
3 small funerals for Joe G. and
Listen,
Chris.
I got saved, and I don't do those things anymore. I'm a new creature, all
Yeah,
right? So all of that,
Praise the Lord.
just keep all of that. Hey, this is Chris Bond.
This is Jerry Davis.
Joe Shelton here.
Hey man, welcome back to Band Bruhz, our final segment for the day. But before we go into that, I want to say this. If you have your Band Bruh, if you have a You Are a Band Bruh comment, hey, send that to us at, of course, where they need to hit us at, Joe.
Hey, look, you can hit us right here on this Facebook page and make on the comments. Band Bruhz, look us up on Facebook, YouTube, Band Bruhz, Instagram, and Twitter. So any of those social media outlets, send us a comment and we'll get back to you.
And if you want one of these super cool Band Bruh t-shirts,
Yep.
hit up the website, hit up the email address. We'll get those out to you as soon as we can. Make sure you put your size in there, and we'll talk about price and all that good stuff. But support us. Some nice shirts, cool shirt. Get you one.
All right, final segment, guys. I want to talk about the sound.
Yeah.
And man, I can remember, man, the music that these bands are playing today, I don't know. It's so thin and shallow. And what happened to real music?
Well, I think before we answer that, we have to go back to who's arranging and writing the music for the band. Are you
That's
talking
true.
about for the bands, or are you just talking about music in general?
Well, I guess, man, when you had bands like Earth, Wind, and Fire and these 3, 5, 7, 8 pieces, you had to have that instrumentation.
Yeah, man.
Now everything is so, one track, a keyboard. So it's not really a lot of imagination for
Yeah, instrumentation.
Yeah.
It's hard to write for
So-
a drum machine
Absolutely.
and a sample now.
Yeah, you hit the key word. Back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, you had Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Commodores, Stevie Wonder. You had all these, they were real musicians that
Conditions
played,
and
and
stuff
yeah,
like
they
that,
played
yeah.
instruments. And so when you heard those recordings, you heard all those elements of the full, all the instrument. And so bands of those times, it was easier to arrange
Right.
an Earth, Wind, and Fire because you can chart out the guitar part for
Right.
a French horn, the tuba part, the bass player, the keyboard player. And so, but now today's music is mainly done by a producer, and sometimes there are some good producers out, but
Right.
sometimes, when you look at it, it's not really musical. And so if you want to play a popular tune, it's up to the arranger to try to make that song
translate over.
more than what it really is.
Right.
They have to try to make it musical
Yeah.
and try to give it, instrumentation for a full band when it's really, just some digital things by one person. So it's challenging today.
Yeah.
I remember when bands used to play chords. You know what a chord is? Anybody have an idea?
An extension cord.
The thing that you pull down. That type of
No, man. A chord, man, it's 3 notes, at least a minimum of 3 notes that made a harmonious. Harmonious? Is that?
That's a word.
Okay, we'll go with it.
Band people understand that.
It was a sound.
Yeah.
But nowadays, with one person playing one note in the bass line and the drums is basically what music is consist of today. And of course, some little stupid sample beats. But I mean, this is probably why bands are not as attractive as they used to be.
Yeah, and I want to add one more step to that. Thinking about the different bands that are out here today through all the classes, and you and Joe talked about sound. Let's take a Southern University. If you had to, let's say, describe their sound
Okay.
in a couple words, what would you say Southern sound would be, mentioning those chords and things? Brass, low brass, dark.
Yeah.
You gotta understand, Southern is a reflection of its culture and where it's from. New Orleans is known for those brass bands.
Sure.
And New Orleans, in the turn of the century, they had all these immigrants coming in, bringing all these different styles of music in, and the brass bands was a big part.
Yeah.
And so brass is a part. You can hear that element within Southern's sound and arrangement. They're keeping to their traditional sound of the area of the culture, the part of the country that they're from. So it's evident that that Southern. Now, speaking of Southern, back in the early '80s and 70s, 80s and probably some of the mid '90s, bands had their own sound. There was a FAMU sound, Florida A&M. You didn't have to You can turn the video off and just put on sound. If you hear this, listen to a recording of FAMU. You knew it was FAMU.
Yeah.
Because of the characteristics of the arrangement.
Yeah.
You knew how a Tennessee State University band sounded based on arrangements. You knew what a Jackson State, you knew what a Southern, but today, that door has closed a little bit where a lot of the bands are starting to sound the same.
Right.
You still have the Tennessee State that still has their unique sound. You still have Southern that has a unique sound. And FAMU, Bethune-Cookman has gotten in there a little bit, and it's still, I think that's sort of a version from FAMU's sound. But everybody's morphing into that power. Everybody wants to be that brassy power, crank in your face sound. And now it's hard to tell
Who's who
based on sound.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. I had a conversation with a young guy from Mobile, and we were talking about the difference between Southern and TSU. And don't get me wrong, I love Southern, but I asked him one question. I said, have you ever heard Earth, Wind & Fire cranking on anybody? Do you see them on stage doing that? You know what I mean? They don't have to. They play, but that's part of that culture down there, and there's nothing wrong with it. TSU, we typically didn't do that. We're starting to get into, some more power, but I want young kids to know, just because the band is not overplaying or super extremely loud doesn't mean they're weak or this band won. Start listening to the dynamics and the different.
Man, I'm gonna get real deep with y'all right here.
Okay, here we
Real
go.
deep.
Here we
Check it
go.
out.
Well, let's go.
Look, you got the reality TV shows, right?
Sure.
And you got hip hop out right now. People say the reality TV shows are real simple-minded. They say the music is, you listen to some of these rap music out, it's real simple-minded. It's real sort of, you listen to it for us old school, we're like, man, what are they talking about? It's not about the flow, the lyrics and things like that. It's because sometimes we've been dumbed down as a society.
Watered down.
We watered down to where we're not forced to think on a higher level, right?
We don't challenge
Jay-Z
ourselves.
said I had to dumb down my raps to sell music.
Right.
Wow.
And
He
that's
said
key.
that on his CD, and they still bought it.
He had to dumb down. So, let me bring it to the band here. Band now, we've sort of, not all bands, we sort of dumbed down the band scene. So where we're not really focused on intonation and phrasing and style.
Yes.
We dumb it down. Now we're basing it on who's loud.
Whoa.
You see what I'm saying? It's easier for somebody who doesn't understand music to tell who's louder than who somebody
So
else.
the guys back in the 90s, and I guess even now, whoever has the loudest system in their car
There you go.
is the winner.
You could have a 82 Chevette that's worth $1,000 and have $10,000 worth of system in there. As long as your system is louder,
You won.
you won.
Yeah.
And that's what bands are coming to now. It's about loudness, and that's more of bringing in the non-band person in. It's easier for me to determine. I think I know band because that band is louder than that band, and so that's
So ridiculous.
easier for us. So nobody's talking about intonation, nobody's talking about phrase, nobody's talking about selection of songs and things like that. So I think that's sort of play into what we do culturally, music and TV, is trying to seep into the band world. But you still have the Tennessee States, the Southerns that are still trying to hold to their traditional type of form of arrangement and playing, and those are the things that sort of keeping the band culture alive.
Different colors and tones can come together and make a powerful sound without having to be 10 notches up.
There are some songs where you want to go at it. We're not saying we just want Bach and, jazz, but, just make sure that there's some balance.
There's
and that's the
balance.
only thing that we're saying.
And mainly, more important, colleges sort of maintain, but the main thing where I see now is the high schools who are trying to do this power, loud, crank thing sound, and that's really all they're trying to do, and that's and that's who's really affecting the most. And so when they only know to play one way, it's not too many colleges they can get into.
And that's the biggest transition, and maybe we'll save this for another day, but going from high school, transitioning from high school to college, and all you've been doing is this all 4 years, freshman, sophomore, junior year, high school, and then you get around other kids and college kids that can play. We'll save that one.
Yeah.
But balance is what we want to leave you with today. Balance. balance, balance.
All right, so you've been watching Band Bruhz. This is the YouTube channel that's dedicated to marching bands across this great land of ours. We'll be back. Tune in next week with Chris Bond.
Jerry Davis.
Joe Shelton.
Band Bruhz, we out.